There I am. Sorry about that. Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to the Fantasy Life Championship live stream event. We do it every Wednesday here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Proud to be co-hosted with Howard Bender once again. Howard, thanks so much for coming on. Really enjoy talking with you. It should be a lot of fun once again tonight. Got a lot of great drafters in this Fantasy Life Championship. Going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. I had asked you as we were, coming in, or anybody in this one that was in the last one. Are we starting to, map out some trends, stuff like that? So, yeah, I had a great time. Last week was great because I wasn't drafting and hosting at the same time, which, listen, I'll do it over and over again. But, to be able to just kind of sit and focus in like this is a ton of fun. This is definitely a ton of fun to jump on in. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and if you want to get in one of these Fantasy Life Championships, go to RTSports.com. And Howard, they can take advantage of a promo that you run. You can let them know how they can do that if they want to take advantage of a bonus deposit if you haven't yet signed up for our site.
Yeah, if you haven't joined RTSports.com, go to RTSports.com/Bender. And when you deposit there for the first time, you'll get a 50% match on your deposit up to $500. So you look at it as a nice little investment there. You make that investment, you take that extra bonus cash, and what do you got? Now you've got entry fee here to Fantasy Championship, or you could do what I did and enter in like 10 different Beat Bender drafts.
Exactly, getting the Beat Bender contest, Beat Bender Best Ball Championship, $10,000 grand prize for that. We have All American Leagues. We have Real-Time Fantasy Sports, football championships as well, all sorts of options. You name it, we offer it here at Real-Time Fantasy Sports. Just go to rtsports.com, take advantage of all the different games we have to offer, and take advantage of that promo code that Howard is offering as well. So, Howard, this Fantasy Life Championship draft, $500,000. Draft's already underway, and they're moving fast and furious. As you said, you're not in the draft this time. We're going to have to do that again, though, because I like to get your insights. I know it's hard to be on the air drafting and commenting, but it's a lot of fun to get your insights from behind the scenes a little bit. So that's always fun as well. So we'll have to do that again coming up here. But let's pull up this draft board. I mean, why not? It's already underway. We have Bijan Robinson with the first pick, then Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Genty, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the drafters, I'll read them in the order. I'll probably screw up several names, but No Pain, No Gain picks first, Surf and Turf, then Prospects, Galaxy Quest, I Am Stroud, Running Rebels, Paradise, Monty Python, I like Monty Python, Bone East, 1999, Ronald Rhino, Max, and Lucy Goosey. That's the draft order. Howard, nothing too crazy with this first round here as you look at it.
No. I mean, it's the usual suspects, the usual cast of characters here in the first round. You could sit there and say, oh, this guy went too early, this guy went too late. First and foremost, I just want to shout out because Galaxy Quest, that's my number one. And for whoever the owner is of Galaxy Quest, quick, let's get out of here before one of these things kills Guy. Greatest line from Sigourney. But yeah, I mean, listen, this is it's kind of funny. The rankings, my top 5 rankings for wide receivers in this order here. It's Jamar Chase, it's Justin Jefferson, then it's CeeDee Lamb. I have Malik Neighbors and then Puka Nacua right there, followed up by Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that actually unfolds exactly as I personally would have done it. And I would say if you switched McCaffrey with Genty, then you're pretty close to my top 5 running backs as well.
Yeah, I think McCaffrey's the big wild card in the first round. I think he's the ultimate boomer bust pick. But, I mean, if I'm in one of these big contests, do you like taking a chance on him?
I've done it. I've, in the Beat Bender leagues, I've been, if he's there for me, if you're going to give me, Christian McCaffrey, because again, it's very tough to draft injury agnostic, but then I don't take Christian McCaffrey number 1 overall. But let's face facts. When you've lost Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk is coming back from a knee issue. You're going to want to lean on McCaffrey, who, for all intents and purposes, should be relatively fresh from missing as much time as he did last year. Is there a risk? 100%. But you easily mitigate that risk by a 12th or 13th round Isaac Guerendo. Because as we've seen with the 49ers, it's always next man up. It is the system in which they play. And that's what Kyle Shanahan's scheme runs in that fashion, that if Christian McCaffrey goes down, Isaac Guerendo comes in and sees all those snaps, sees all those touches. Are they going to include him like they include McCaffrey? No. But he's going to be a major focal point of that offense. So you're mitigating risk right there of McCaffrey by just making sure that you grab Guerendo. Just leave him stashed on your bench. It's literally that easy.
And then Guerendo, too, it's a lot easier for us because Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, both gone. So that makes it easier to, makes it a lot easier to figure out. And I'm not a huge strength of schedule guy. Like I like to look at it and I think it's important, but I like it most in these big game contests because I like to see what happens in the fantasy playoffs. And San Francisco is the 6th easiest schedule for fantasy running backs in the playoffs. So I think that's good news for McCaffrey. And they also have a very good one overall during the regular season, 4th easiest. So just something to keep in mind when you're drafting these big ones. So second round already underway with Nico Collins, Devon Achane, Brock Bowers, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. The order of backs there, I think they're all fairly similar type players. What would your order be with Achane, Jacobs, and Henry?
I would be Henry, Jacobs, Achane. But I mean, Jonathan Taylor popped off here. In all honesty, Jeff, my running back rankings here would go Henry. It would go Henry, Taylor, a running back who hasn't been taken yet, but somebody will take him. There's my background here. That team right there. See what I'm talking about? I don't want to name names. I don't want to get on here about participants. A little uppity there, but that's kind of where I'm at. You know, Achane's he's a great guy if Tua's playing. That's obviously comes with risk, but again, he's not a guy who, takes it between the tackles as much as you'd like to see. And he's a guy who, if he's not getting 5 or 6 catches per game, his value is really kind of suspect.
I think a lot of the options after like McCaffrey are kind of similar, quite frankly. I think you can make a case for several of those guys you mentioned. I mean, there's guys you mentioned guys that haven't been drafted yet, we haven't mentioned even, that I think are kind of all similar to the guys that have been taken. So I think it gets tough in that second round a little bit. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We have a few people commenting. Someone says, why is Bender not drafting? We need a free square. Shots fired, Howard.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Appreciate that one. Damn, I'll tell you next week. I'll join next week's draft.
Let's do it next week. There you go.
Paul, you join next week with me there, right? I'm going to name my team the Anti-Pauls. You can name your team whatever you want to name.
Someone's surprised that Cook went in the second round. I mean, I don't think that's a huge reach. Let's see his 80.
I mean, if you're banking on his touchdown, if you're banking on that touchdown count staying high, then yeah, he's kind of worth it. I agree. I think it might be a little bit, away from ADP, but here's the funny thing. Had this discussion with several guys about this. If you don't like the players who are in that second round, right? You don't like the second round value you're getting at whether it's running back or wide receiver, then there's no harm in reaching for a guy from the third round. Like, they always say you don't have to do that, but you know what? As you're building your core, take your guys, like build the way you want to build. Don't turn around and be like, oh, well, the ADP says that this guy doesn't go for another round or two, so I'll wait, because you might lose them. So I always feel like in the early rounds here, you got to go and you got to get your guys. There's Breece Hall. There's Breece Hall coming off the board, for crying out loud. You guys are showing so much disrespect to him.
I agree with the ADP too. I always say it's not a ranking, it's a guide. It's a guide for you. So I think it's Good words to live by there. We had 2 tight ends, both Brock Bowers, not a surprise, goes in the second round, but Trey McBride goes in the second round too. I'm kind of anxious. I have not run the numbers yet. I will, but I want to know like the elite tight ends and how many championship teams they were on. Was it that big of a difference maker last year? I'm kind of intrigued by that. Do you like to get one of these guys? Do you want to use that draft capital on Bowers or McBride, or you just wait until 7th, 8th round?
I mean, I've pulled back. I've I don't mind it, but here's the problem. Like everybody jumped in. Second round to me seems too high. It does, and for me, I look at it as like last year. Everybody jumped in on Sam Laporta in the second round. I'm like, why take Sam Laporta in the second round when you can take Trey McBride in the 4th round or the 5th round even? Like that's the way it kind of unfolded. And Sam Laporta did. I mean, he still finished his tight end 7 in PPR formats, but I mean, he didn't have the value that a guy like Trey McBride had. So, no, I'm not pushing in for these top guys right here, right now. I'll wait a little bit. Again, it's running backs and wide receivers. I'll tell you what I find very cool about the RT Sports crowd. All right, because I see this in the beat bender leagues, and I see this in these fantasy championship drafts. It's very old school, very RB heavy. You don't see a lot of guys. You'll see some guys go 0 RB, but not even. Like they'll go like running backs in the 4th and 5th round. So their first 3 picks will be wide receiver. That's not 0 RB. 0 RB is, you're waiting until like the 7th round, 8th round to take your guy. You're getting your tight end, you're getting your wide receivers, you're getting your quarterback in there early and then going after it. In these RT drafts, and look at this here, right? No pain, no gain, Galaxy Quest, I Am Stroud. When was the last time you saw 3 teams go running back, running back, running back in this day and age?
Yeah, you're right. Don't see it often. And we have 3 teams today. It's gonna impact the other teams in this draft too. So they're gonna have to make some decisions. There's 2 teams that do not have a running back yet. The team picking right now, Paradise, and then Loosey Goosey at the end as well. So it's kind of anxious to see what is going to be left there. And there's your guy, Kenneth Walker, off the board too, Howard. You've turned me on to him. I'll tell you that right now. I've taken him in my last 2 drafts. The whole Dennison thing is a great point that you make with him and the success he's had with fantasy backs. So I hope he can stay healthy. That's
well, again, mitigate that risk, Jeff, with
Zach Charbonnet.
Hey,
another clear RB2.
Pour me another glass of the Sharby Sharbs right there, right? As long as it is. I do have a beat bender league where I've got McCaffrey and Garendo as well as Walker and Charbonnet. I can't remember who my other running back is. I think it's Jonathan Taylor. Maybe I'll, I don't know if I took DJ Giddens later on in the draft there, but I mean, listen, man, I'm a firm believer if you're working in a system, right, where the lead back is getting those touches, you have to look at what they're, what's behind them. If you look behind them and you see a guy who, you see 2 guys who play both very different games, one's a pass catcher and one's a bulldozer, then you worry about that split. But when you look and see what, Kenneth Walker goes down, Zach Charbonnet is getting all the snaps. McCaffrey goes down, it's going to be Garendo getting all the snaps. That's not the same for every single team, but it definitely works out. It works well. Like I couldn't tell you exactly who the handcuff is for RJ Harvey. I love RJ Harvey. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think that he can be that lead back. But the question is does he profile more as like the pass catcher, which means that Audric Estime has that bulldozer role, or does he profile more as a between the tackles type guy and you're looking for a pass catching specialist, which gives Jaleel McLaughlin that kind of work? So that's the handcuff situation that I don't know.
I got a question for you regarding that. We were just talking about this the other day. And when it comes to handcuffing, are you more prone to do it in just overall leagues than best ball leagues? Do you feel like you need to do it in best ball leagues as well? Or do you would you rather just do it in your standard leagues, or do you do it in both?
I mean, it depends on the situation. If it's something like the 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks, I will
Mhm.
do it in best ball and in season long. I feel very comfortable about it because it's the specific system and the team. And I'll do that, because even if if you're doing a best ball draft, you're getting 20 rounds. If you're only doing
Yeah,
16 rounds in a regular standard 12 team league, you're not killing yourself with the with the bench depth. So I feel like it's a necessary thing. I know it's like an old school mentality. Some people don't subscribe to the people I think who don't really subscribe to handcuffing are the people who just think that automatically, every situation is handcuffable. It's just not. It's
that's
not that way.
true. Good point. All right, let's look at the third round now. So we had Brees Hall go, then Alvin Kamara, Jackson Smith-Njigba, R.J. Harvey, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Lad McConkey, A.J. Brown, first QB, Josh Allen, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, and then Garrett Wilson. What do you think about that round? Any thoughts on round three? Anything in particular you see that is intriguing you? I mean, maybe Terry McLaurin. I guess he's a tad high. Not
I
crazy
mean,
high.
is he a tad high? I mean, is Garrett Wilson insanely low? I
Yeah,
mean,
I think he's getting drafted way too low, quite
I
frankly.
know. Dude, look at that receiving core for Lucy Goosey. Dude, I would walk into any league with that as
Wow,
my wide receiver core. That's an insane group.
it is. What's his running back room going to look like? That's the question.
I don't
I'm
know.
sure he has some guys in mind. You
Oh, I
have
mean,
to.
you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. I mean, but again, for the same token, when you say something like that, I know you're only starting two wide receivers, but are there two flexes in
Two
this?
flex. Yep. Two flex.
So, if you're sitting there and you're going as running back heavy, like all of a sudden where, you're going to need some sort of consistency with your wide receivers. Otherwise, you're going to be, you're playing the matchups left and right. And
That's
how many
true.
times have you seen somebody play the matchups constantly and just get it wrong every single time?
Yep. And we had Jaden Daniels as the second QB off the board. I can't do it, Howard. I can't take Daniels ahead of Lamar Jackson. I love the guy. I love watching him play. I think he's a super player, but can you take him ahead of Lamar Jackson?
No, I can't take him ahead of Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I might be inclined to taking him ahead of Josh Allen.
Really?
I mean, as it stands right now, I've got Josh Allen ranked number one, Lamar Jackson number two, and Jaden Daniels. But the more I kind of dive into what Joe Brady's doing and not having that top guy, and will he run as much as he's going to run? Will he poach enough touchdowns for me? There's just something about it. I don't know. Maybe it could just be that I'm a Jets fan also, and I absolutely hate Buffalo. But I love Lamar Jackson. I think he deserved the MVP for a second year in a row last year. I knew that the politics wouldn't allow that, but Lamar's I love Lamar. I think he's a phenomenal guy. I think Jaden Daniels, there's so much room to grow. I think we know what we're seeing with Josh Allen. We've seen the ceiling. We're not getting anything bigger than what he's done already. And I think that we still have a long way to go with Jaden Daniels here.
Again, you're watching the Fantasy Life Championship draft here on RealTime Fantasy Sports, the latest one going off right now. You want to get in a fantasy championship league on our site, just go to rtsports.com. All sorts of different draft times on there. Right now, you can do a slow draft. You can do a draft like this in one night. You name it. We're offering it for the Fantasy Life Championship. Very excited to bring you this league again this year, $500,000 grand prize. So, Howard, in round four, there were four QBs taken. I think that's the highest that we've seen so far. We have Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. Like, I kind of feel like the way you describe the tight end position and how you're approaching it is kind of how I feel about QB. I like to get the elite guys, but I'd rather get maybe one of those secondary elite guys like Mahomes or Hurts a few rounds later. I feel more comfortable doing that because I think they can finish with similar numbers. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm like trying a multitude of strategies here with the drafts the early drafts that I'm doing right now. I've hung out in that mid-tier range, the Bo Nix, Justin Herbert kind of range. I've hung out there. I've actually done a couple where I've waited even further, and I've actually done like CJ Stroud and Jordan Love kind of, mixed in there. I haven't yet bitten on one of the actually, I take that back. The one draft that's still going on right now. I had the second pick overall. I got Jamar Chase. I came back and I was like, you know what? Somebody's always going to try and screw up my stack for me here. If I take T Higgins, is Joe Burrow going to fall to me? So let me just grab Joe Burrow with my second round pick. So that's the first draft that I've done where I've gotten one of these early guys. I'm going to try out a couple of drafts with it. It's not my preference. I'm with you. I don't mind waiting in the middle rounds. I love I love loading up on wide receivers and running backs early. Again, stubborn probably, but although I did say, you know what, Jalen Hurts now tickling my fancy even more. Do they run the tush push even more so out of spite?
Did you see they immediately released like a highlight video of every tush push after it was accepted? They're just throwing salt in everybody's wounds there.
I want to see Jalen Hurts be the first QB to go 20-20. 20 passing, 20 rushing.
It's unbelievable. I just can't believe no one has figured out any sort of remedy to stop that, even remote. I mean, they can't stop it at all. It's not even close. Like it's unbelievable. I in the way that they, these coaches operate, it's just it surprises me. Nothing's been figured out just yet on how to maybe stop that.
The defensive coordinators should be doing that. The thing about it is, I mean, it's the Eagles have been the ones that perfected it. I've seen other teams try it and failed miserably, especially like the Bills. The Bills, no way they were doing that. So, is that not the most fantasy sports thing, though, when you see something like that, a guy's winning with like a strategy that, nobody else can seem to top him out?
That's true. You're right.
So the league votes, to change the rules so that he doesn't have that advantage anymore. Like what kind of crap is that? Come on, man.
It's like playing Madden football on your PlayStation and someone's running the same play over and over again and you can't stop it.
Right.
They figured out a meta to attack your defense. It reminds me of that as well.
Right. But then that's the rule. You can't do it. You can't run that play. Can't run that play. I remember it was at NHL 94, EA Sports. There was like a spot as you were coming down on the right side.
I remember that too. Yep.
Right from the slot. You could there was like a goal that they just couldn't stop it. No goals from the spot. No goals from the spot. That was like the big rule as you were starting up.
I wonder if we overlook Jalen Hurts too. I mean, the guy can he can leg press like 800 pounds or something crazy. And there's not many QBs that do that. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well, with another reason why it's so hard to stop. So you can't fault the guy for, being in great shape. And right. I think that's probably a big factor.
It definitely is. So yeah, spite. Give me a 2020 season, Jalen. You will be ride or die together.
All right, let's look at round 5. It's almost over with now. Actually, I didn't even read all the picks in round 4. We had Rashee Rice, Jaden Daniels, Omarion Hampton, DJ Moore, Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, Marvin Harrison, Chuba Hubbard, Quinshon Judkins, Joe Burrow, Devontae Adams, Jalen Hurts. So the running back slowed down a little bit. 3 were taken in that round. Then in round 5, we have Devonta Smith, George Kittle, Travion Henderson, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Tony Pollard, James Conner, Zay Flowers, DeAndre Swift, Xavier Worthy, and Caleb Johnson. So this is our third draft that we've covered now, Howard. We haven't talked about Devonta Smith yet. So he's kind of fallen down a little bit, disappointing year last year. Give me your thoughts on him. What are you expecting from Devonta Smith this year?
I mean, I'm very much in on it. I think we see a little bit more from the Eagles passing game. There's like a number of ways to layer on top of it. Number one, Saquon Barkley during the regular season, 50 more rushing attempts than any other year in his career. And then you add on another 141 rushing attempts for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. That's a big, big workload. It's a big increase. And especially for a guy who's had 2 major knee surgeries. And while, yes, everything aligned beautifully last year, are they going to give him, the same amount of work, or will we see more passing? For the same token, they had to dismantle that defense. They got rid of all the veterans on D, and they're rebuilding it through the draft. Like first 5 draft picks were all defensive players. So will bigger passing attacks push the Eagles to the point where you can't just hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, in the second half and call it a day? You're going to be playing from behind. You're going to have teams that are going to be passing on you more. So I think that increases the workload for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. And considering that what's behind Smith, Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, the Calcaterra wine mixer, none of these are like inspiring anybody for targets at all. So that, Devonta Smith, he's going to see a high snap count. He's going to see a second highest number of targets on this team. And if I think that the Eagles themselves are going to be passing more, I'll definitely take their locked-in wide receiver too.
All right, Howard, couple interesting builds. We talked about these teams that went running back heavy first. So Galaxy Quest actually took 4 straight running backs, and then right after him, I Am Stroud took 4 straight as well. And now they took their first receiver. So Galaxy Quest goes Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, RJ Harvey, Quinshawn Judkins, Mike Evans, and then I Am Stroud, Ashton Genty, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, and Cortland Sutton. The number 1 receiver, both of those guys, not terrible for waiting until round 5.
No, that's not terrible at all, right? We expect a little bit of pullback from Mike Evans? Maybe. 12 straight years of 1,000 yards. You can't argue with that. And then Sutton, he's the X receiver in a Joe Lombardi system. He's led the team in targets for the last 2 seasons. And last year he enjoyed one of his absolute best. So the connection with him and Bo Nix, I think you're in a very good spot. This is a guy you're going to leave in one of your wide receiver spots week in and week out. Unless there's an injury or a bye week, those guys are just locked in starting. And that's a great spot to be.
And then the polar opposite is the last pick, Lucy Goosey. We talked about his outstanding receiver room with Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice. And now he took 2 straight running backs on the turn. He took David Montgomery and Aaron Jones. Again, I would be happy with that if I'm waiting on a running back that long and get those guys as my duo. They definitely have some concerns, but definitely high ceilings as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, Montgomery is the thunder to the thunder and lightning of that offense. I know that, Ben Johnson's not going to be there, but, Dan Campbell is really, kind of trying to hammer it home to, new OC John Morton that, you're the passing game coordinator for Denver for the last 2 seasons, but we are a run first team here. And so I think that's a good spot to be. Aaron Jones is touch and go for me. I'm not a huge fan, especially because, it's a very pass heavy offense for Kevin O'Connell, but, there's really, there's not huge competition for him. I'm trying to think of who's that number 2 back from?
It took Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason, yeah. Jordan Mason's he's a compliment, but he's not a guy that you're like, yeah, they're gonna get this guy touches on the regular. You might see more Ty Chandler early on than Jordan Mason because Ty Chandler at least is a bigger pass catcher. I think Mason is like a good handcuff to have, but that's what I'm just not bullish on Jones overall, but. You got the lead back. So
I had a big swing and a miss on Ty Chandler last year. I swear I took him in more leagues than maybe anybody because you could get him for next to nothing. And I did not believe in Jones holding up all year. And I was really disappointed in Chandler, quite frankly. Missed on that one. I don't know if he's going to be much of a factor this year either, unfortunately. All right, Howard. We had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 straight receivers taken in round 6. Travis Hunter, Tate McMillan, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Chris Olave, Jawan Jennings, Jameson Williams, Matthew Golden. Receivers flying off the board now. They're trying to make up, I guess, for lost time with all those running backs picked. I guess you're going with value as well. Any receivers stand out of that? What I named 7 guys, 8 guys? Who do you like the most?
So I like Paradise taking Chris Olave. Obviously, we don't know the quarterback situation. Tyler Shuck, we think it's going to be that way. There's also a lot of risk that comes with Olave because of the concussions. But if he's your fourth wide receiver, you got Lamb, London, and McConkey, you can afford to shoot for the moon here with a guy like Olave. Because, I mean, if those four
True.
guys ball out week in, week out, you've got two wide receivers and two flexes. So you're in a good spot there. Juwan Jennings, I feel I'm not as bullish on. I think I might have, preferred like taking that shot on Matthew Golden or Jamison Williams there. Even Jerry Jeudy, right? Judy's sitting there. He's regardless of who's throwing the football, he's the number one target on that team. Joe Flacco will pepper him with targets. If it's Shedeur Sanders, he was like the king of the bubble screens. So that Judy's going to get a ton of short work. Jennings, I get it. Ayuk is trying to work his way back, but I think Ricky Pearsall, if you're talking about when there's going to be two receiver sets, I think it's Pearsall on one side and Ayuk on the other. And that pushes, Juwan Jennings into like that slot role, third guy. So not as bullish on him.
I think if I'm in a best ball league, I'm good with Jennings. I'm fine with taking him, but I would definitely be scared of every week trying to figure out when to start him and when to use him. I think he could be a little up and down. I'm in the same boat as you, but there are a lot of good receivers taken in that 6th round. I mean, I'd be really happy with a lot of those guys as my number 2 or 3 option. Really kind of intriguing there. Matthew Golden, that's a guy I like too, but I just, that Packers receiving room, it just scares me. There's so many similar options. I know Golden is better than a lot of the other guys there, Jaden Reed and Christian Watson, but still there's so many guys there. It kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where you've got 4 legitimate wide receivers for maybe, but I don't even know how often they ran 11 personnel in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's tough to get, 2-3 wide receiver spots available at a time. And you've got 4 guys who are all, legit starting on there. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a tough spot to be. You know what I like doing? Because it costs nothing to do it. Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Jordan Love stack in a best ball tournament.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost you a thing to do that.
That's true. I mean, you get him as you get Jordan Love as your number 2 QB. You're right. There's definitely some upside with that. I like that.
Yeah.
So we only had 1 running back taken in round 6. And I mean, every pick was a receiver and just 1 running back. First time we've seen that, Howard. That hasn't happened yet. Now round 7, it's going tight end heavy with Kelsey, Ingram, and Jonnu Smith. This is about the spot I'd like to try to grab my tight end, those 7th, 8th round. Is that what you're kind of doing at this point of things?
Yeah, I've been grabbing a lot of Evan Ingram. I love him in that Joker role. I think we talked about this when he signed, over there in Denver. So I think he's going to see significant targets. Sutton will be the primary guy, but who's going to get those, the secondary group of targets? Is it going to be Marvin Mims? Probably not. So I think Ingram fits in really, really nicely. I like him there. Let me ask you, Travis Kelsey, is he still a top 5 tight end?
I still have him there. I feel like they used him well last year. They kind of didn't play him every single down like they have in the past. I feel like they kind of did a good job of trying to keep him on the field, and he still ended up with, what do you have, 92 catches, I think, last year?
Yeah.
97 catches. So he's had 90 plus catches 4 straight seasons. I mean, I don't know if he's going to produce as well as he has the last several years, but I still think he's going to push, 85 plus catches in that offense. And I think they're going to find a way to keep him on the field, keep him healthy as well. I know he's another year older, but I still have faith in him.
I mean, I would just like to, the funny thing is that, you've got Marquise Brown is back and Rashee Rice is back and Xavier Worthy is in there. And you still have Juju Smith-Schuster lurking about. And then you've got Kelsey and then you've got Noah Gray. So there are a lot of mouths to feed there. I'm like, I'm so torn. I almost feel like, Kelsey just wants the one more season, and that could be this one. So the question is, does he, do you get that like last gasp great performance out of him, or, are you like, yeah, dude, I just wasted a pick on 800 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But for all the reasons you just mentioned, it's why I love the Ronaldo Rhino, his pick of Patrick Mahomes in round 7. Ronaldinho. Okay, there it is. But
the H is silent.
He took Patrick Mahomes in round 7. I love doing that at that point. I think that's just great value in my opinion.
It's amazing value, and you got like a sneaky Xavier Worthy in there as well.
Yeah. Any builds you like so far as we look at this draft board here? We're 7 rounds in. I mean, some teams don't have QBs and tight ends yet, but any teams stand out to you at this point, Howard?
I do like running Rebels. I like Joe Bradshaw's build here. It's a shame that Zach Charbonnet just went to loosey goosey. Because that would have made it, even better for our good friend, Mr. Bradshaw. But I love Justin Jefferson. I love Jonathan Taylor. I love Kenneth Walker. I'm very into Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. I think that they're really going to spend some time focusing on Kyler Murray, finding him downfield. Have you ever seen the videos of like how many times Marvin Harrison was just wide open by himself that Kyler Murray never saw him? I think they're going to make that a focal point. So I love those top 4 picks there. Tony Pollard, you're getting a guy who sees the majority of touches out of that backfield. You've got a rookie quarterback there, so maybe you lean a little bit more. I told you I'm not a big fan of the Juwan Jennings pick, but Calvin Ridley, that's the number 1 guy for Cam Ward. They're going to have to feed him the targets. There's really nobody else. Over there, what is it, Tyler Lockett? Is that really going to be your competition for targets here? Chigakonkwo? So I think that he got himself here a number 1 wide receiver in the 7th round. So I like where he's got going right now. 4 wide receivers, 3 running backs. It's a good old school draft.
It is. There's a lot of good builds that I'm intrigued by. I just talked about the Ronaldinho team that I like.
Ronaldinho?
I'm sorry. I'll get it one of these days. Ronaldinho, I think he did well. I like his build, even though he took Bowers in the 2nd round, which kind of scares me. I worry about his 2nd running back spot a little bit, but I kind of like that surf and turf team too, though. Jamar Chase and then Bucky Irving, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Jerry Jeudy, and Jalen Warren. So I think that's a pretty good looking team too. I know you're not as high on Bucky Irving this year. I still like him. I still think he could produce well. I like Alvin Kamara a lot too. I think he's going to have a big season because they just don't have much there. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think he's going to do well. And Devontae Adams, another guy I think could be really good in the 4th round as your number 2 receiver. As a guy can get 90+ catches. So I'd take that all day. So I kind of like the surf and turf build too.
No pain, no gain. I got to give them some props as well. Bijan, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, boom. Then you got Jalen Hurts connected to Devonta Smith. George Pickens, I mean, he's going to be that number 2 wide receiver behind CeeDee Lamb, and then a decent tight end there with Travis Kelsey. I like that as well. I think that's a good crew.
If you have any comments on this draft, leave them in the chat here. And if you like a team so far, let us know which one stands out to you, or if you have any questions for us regarding fantasy football, feel free to leave them there. We're happy to answer them. And again, if you want to get in one of these leagues, go to rtsports.com, Fantasy Life Championship, $500,000 grand prize. We do these live streams every Wednesday. It's 9 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I should say, 8 p.m. Central Time. That's my time. And we do it every week. So if you want to hear us talk about your draft, and you want to draft for a chance to win $500,000, sign up for that league on Wednesday nights. And it is up there right now. So you can do that as we speak. You can go
Is
there
next Wednesday's up there already?
I think it is.
I'm going to take a look right now because Paul challenged me. So I feel like
we got our first person to sign up. Howard's going to do it.
Here we
All right,
go.
I'll recap this round for everybody here. We are in the 8th round. Tootin goes, Bayshaw Tootin of the Jacksonville Jaguars goes with the first pick in round 8. Then Jordan Addison, Isaiah Pacheco, TJ Hawkinson, Cam Scatterboot, Najee Harris, Caleb Williams, Travis Etienne, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you see at this point the running back position's really thinning out. For me, I like the Harris or Etienne pick. I know Etienne has a lot of question marks, but at this point, he's the number one back. So that's who I'm probably leaning towards. And Najee Harris, too, could end up splitting carries in the Omarion Hampton backfield as well. So those are two of my favorite running backs in that draft, in that round.
I mean, it's the Najee situation really, it does make me a little nervous. Like, I love Omarion Hampton. I think he's a great player. I really do. I think big things there. But you just paid, $9.5 million to Najee Harris. $5.5 million of that is guaranteed. The rest of it is in incentive. So maybe even you hold back on him later on in the season, and you don't worry about the incentives aspect of it. But you're still giving $5.5 million. That, I could definitely see them just making sure that they're getting their money's worth at least early on in the year. Omarion Hampton will be the explosive guy at the back end of the season because he's like taking over the job.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I like the Surf and Turf team even better now because he just took Baker Mayfield in round 8. I think that's a good solid number 1 in my opinion. Give me that. I like that. So he has a pretty good starting lineup going on there. Stephon Diggs and Michael Pittman. So no pain, no gain too. You just mentioned him. So now he gets Stephon Diggs and Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman I'm not quite as high on, but I like the Stephon Diggs pick in round 8. Why not? Number 1 receiver. Drake May is his QB. Pretty good emerging young quarterback. I mean, I'd be happy with Diggs in round 8.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, obviously you're always going to be concerned when a veteran is coming back from the ACL issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. He's the guy there for New England. They made that commitment to Drake May with, saying we're giving you a number 1 target. So yeah, I mean, to get him there in round 8, yeah, I'm with you on the Pittman call. I'm just not sure about him. I mean, just because, he's always in and out with the back issues. When was the last time you ever heard somebody say, I used to have a bad back, but it's great now? Nobody.
Said no one ever.
Said no one ever. Even after back surgery or anything like that. So, that always is the concern. And then there's, the fact that Anthony Richardson is a terrible thrower. I would be much happier with Pittman if Daniel Jones was locked in under center. But even that isn't like the greatest of all things. So I'm just not into that passing attack. I'll take Jonathan Taylor all day long and skip out on the passing game for the Colts.
Yeah, they still have a pretty good offensive line, too. It can be overlooked at times, but Colts still have a pretty good unit there to block for Taylor, too, so they could definitely be run heavy. We had a couple more quarterbacks going around 9, so let me see. There is 2 teams left without a QB. Bo Nix is Galaxy Quest's QB. You were talking about that team, kind of like them, so I think
you see that little sneaky Denver stack in there, huh? Now Bo Nix, RJ Harvey, and Evan Engram.
Ooh. Interesting.
Ooh, me like it.
Then Kyler Murray goes as well. Again, if I'm taking a QB, I'd rather be in this range. It's 7, 8, 9 range. I'd be happy with any of those guys that went there than using higher draft capital to get Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and those guys in round 4. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I got a lot of Bo Nix already, so I could definitely do that.
So Ramondre Stevenson just got picked. I know they just came out today and said he was going to be a big part of the offense once again. What do we make of him?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's so funny. You've got, Patriots fans who are forever chasing the next James White. So they look at Trevion Henderson and say that he plays that James White role, and Ramondre Stevenson is, our bruiser between the tackles. He had a fumble issue last year, a very Tootin-esque fumble issue that parked him on the bench a couple of times. So I'm not a huge fan, but listen, you can't bank on rookie performances. So while
True.
Trevion Henderson goes in round 5, I don't hate the Stevenson pick here in round 9, especially if he's going to see touches.
Yeah, for sure. I don't hate it either. I think with some of the guys going around him, that, I mean, everybody's got question marks at this point, but I'd much rather have Stevenson than even like Rashad White, quite frankly. I think he's
I agree with that.
Going the other way around. Javonte Williams goes, again, another guy with big question marks. Who knows what's going to happen there? They don't have anybody, though, at this point, so I guess it's Williams' job. And then Jordan Mason goes as well. So, again, running back not looking too good at this point. It's thinning out in a hurry for these owners.
Yeah, I mean, again, look at when was the last time you saw this many running backs in the first 3 rounds? Like, usually it's crazy dominant, for wide receivers. Are we overcompensating because last year was the year of the running back, or is that the proper practice? And maybe we all just strayed for a couple of seasons with the wide receiver heavy look.
I wonder, too, if people just feel more comfortable taking some of these running backs, because I think there's a lot more options that we feel that are more certain, I guess, than in the past is maybe one way to look at it as well.
Sure.
I mean, not quite as many question marks, maybe. Maybe that's a reason for it. But you're right. This is definitely not the norm. It was not like this in years past, for sure, the past few years at least. Colston Loveland, he gets picked as the number 1 tight end for Lucy Goosey here on the turn. And the Max team, is he the only? Oh no, there's still several teams without a tight end. So
several teams without a tight end. 2 teams still without a QB.
Interesting to see what Lucy Goosey does. Again, he's kind of seems like he's had a plan all along on what to do here. He went 4 receivers, 4 running backs. Now he took a tight end. He took another receiver. Anxious to see what he does at QB. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of double taps that position, maybe coming up on one of these turns and ends up platooning them. It's a scary proposition, but it can be successful. It's hard sometimes when you have 2 similar options trying to figure out who to start each week.
Well, again, yeah, I mean, and I agree with that, and it depends. Like, if you're taking 2 guys who are identical, like, I'd be looking at that in that aspect. If I'm going to pair up 2 guys, we cover this over at Fantasy Alarm. We call it the yin yang draft strategy, right? You draft a guy who, is like, your high, your high ceiling guy. You're swinging for the fences. You're hoping that it's going to be a great time for him. And then you're backing him up with somebody who's got some stability, right? When it comes to quarterbacks, I like going after, like, I'll take if I'm waiting on QB, I'll take a CJ Stroud or a Jordan Love, but I'll pair them up with somebody like JJ McCarthy or Justin Fields, right? I'll get like a rushing upside QB and a pocket passer. So at least when I'm making those decisions, I'm not choosing, it's not like taking Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. You're like, oh, who do I start this time? You're giving yourself better options by saying, okay, well, this team doesn't do well against mobile quarterbacks, so that's why I'm going to use him this week, as opposed to, oh no, I think this secondary is better than that one.
That's a good way to do it. I've never thought about building my quarterback room like that. I kind of like that, though. It's definitely could be a winning strategy for sure. And I'm intrigued by Justin Fields, quite frankly. I know he's not a great QB, but he ran for over 1,100 yards 2 years ago, and a fantasy QB that can run for 1,000+ yards can be an asset, even if he can't throw the ball at all.
Yeah, I mean, and where he's going in drafts makes him that much more enticing, right? And then you can throw down there. You can be like, all right, well, they got him a great, I mean, he's got the rapport with Garrett Wilson that dates back to their time in college together. And you just got him a young, strong pass catching tight end option in Mason Taylor. I think that's good. He doesn't have great receiving weapons behind Garrett Wilson, and maybe they sign somebody, or maybe they make a move for somebody. I don't know, but you're not worried if you've got guys like Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor. Maybe we just, we look at the Jets as like, okay, consolidated targets. Those are the two options. And that's who Fields has. And that's going to, yes, it's going to make it easier for him because going through his progressions. Yes, no, okay, I'm going to run. And so maybe that does kind of tighten things up a little bit for the Jets.
Interesting to me that Mark Andrews goes as a second tight end to a team. Mark Andrews, I know he started really slow last year. We ended up being pretty solid in the end. I still have him 10th overall in my rankings, and I know he's another year older and he's kind of slowed down a little bit recently, but still, I don't mind him. You're the tight end whisperer. You tell me.
I am blown away by the disrespect. And it's complete disrespect because of how he started the season last year. Mm-hmm. Right. But I mean, here was a guy who, through a stretch. Well, first and foremost, let me just find the exact number here so that I can just kind of say, okay, I did the work here. Mark Andrews finished in a standard league. Mark Andrews finished as tight end 4. Yeah. In a PPR league, Mark Andrews finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, tight end 9.
Okay.
Oh, no. Actually, no, I'm wrong. Tight end 6. He finished tight end 6 in full point PPR, tight end 4 in standard.
And that was with an awful start to a season.
It was a horrendous start to the season. I mean, he literally, right? How many times were people asking, should I trade this guy? Yeah. Should I drop this guy? Right? His first, 1, 2, 3, 5 weeks of the season were terrible. Then he had 3 touchdowns in 2 games, 4 touchdowns in 3 games. And then from week 12 through week 18, he got a touchdown every single game.
11 touchdowns on the season, which I think was a career high for him, if I'm not mistaken.
But let's park him. Let's park him down here in the 10th round.
Yeah. And I think at that point, I am Stroud just taking him for the value. He already had Jonnu Smith, and
yeah,
I mean, he could use Andrews as a flex option possibly if he has to, and a good backup for Jonnu Smith as well. So really kind of intriguing seeing him fall that far. There's still, let's see, 1, 2, 3 teams without a tight end as well. Wonder what they're going to do. All right, Howard, we're got about 8 minutes or so, and then we're going to get out of here. Mm-hmm. But it's been a lot of fun, as always, talking with you and looking at this Fantasy Life Championship draft tonight and seeing how these teams are building. Again, you don't have to get in these big leagues, but we've talked about several times, Howard and I, already, about getting in a lot of these best ball contests. Howard has a Beat Bender best ball contest on our site this year, $10,000. It's just a great way to try different strategies, see what works for you, to get ready for maybe the leagues you really are, care about the most, and put a little skin in the game for these best ball ones or some of these smaller leagues and figure out what strategy works before you draft your home league. So it's definitely a good process, in my opinion. It's good to watch these as well. You can learn a lot from them, in my opinion.
I agree. Watching some of these, I mean, this is a great way to just kind of establish patterns and what people are doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you could look at ADP all you want, but to see how teams are being built, what different strategies are being employed. I mean, it's very, very valuable information. And yeah, listen, the best ball ones that I'm doing, the Beat Bender ones are $20. I just wrapped up like 10 of them. So I'm going to take a break. Those that you can keep joining more as they're going on. I'm personally going to wait like another week or 2 before I start jumping back into those. Just so I can see some of the things that are going on in camp, some of the shifts, some of the information, because I'm just trying to figure out, okay, if I draft early, if I draft middle, if I draft late, what's my build? What are my teams there? But for $300, I literally just jumped into next Wednesday's Fantasy Championship draft. I challenge you, come at me.
There you go. You can sign up.
Paul Farrell, come on.
Paul's I believe he's a top 10 player on our site, top 10 ranked player on the site. He's a pretty good player.
I'm coming after him.
Yeah. Howard's going to come after you. But yeah, Howard's already signed up. So you can get into that right now if you want to and hear us talk about it. Watch Howard draft. And
Fozzie's going to be there. I love
Fozzie.
it.
Well, he's always there.
Yo, Fozzie just hit me up on Facebook. I was like,
Oh.
I didn't even realize that was Fozzie until he like popped in on one of my things and just was like, Fozzie's here. I was like, oh shit.
Fozzie's great. Yeah. All right. Let's look at these last few rounds, see if any picks stand out to us before we get out of here, Howard. I'm Jadon Blue on there and Jalen Wright too. Isaac Guriendo. So the guy who took McCaffrey did not get Guriendo. I think he might have waited too long with all these running backs going off. That could end up coming up back to bite him a little bit. That's no good. No bueno.
That is that's definitely a bummer there. Where did Guriendo go?
He went the first
there he is
in round 10.
No pain, no gain. Needed some running backs. So wow.
Yeah, Christian I'm not saying it. Ronaldinho. He has only 3 running backs right now: Christian McCaffrey, Omarion Hampton, and Isaiah Pacheco. Interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need to attack that running back position there a little bit. And that's the funny thing is, like, I don't even know where you would go when I'm looking at, like, Ray Davis and Tyler Algier and Braylon Allen kind of coming off the board. Like, the guy who I think has like the best chance at touches, who's gone the latest, I think, is probably Jadon Blue.
Yeah. I worry Jadon Blue is going to end up being Vaughn. I hate to say Deshaun Vaughn.
Oh,
I hope he's not, but I worry about it. The pass catching back, and everybody's hyping him. You know how everybody was hyping him his rookie season, and I'm not even seeing the field.
Yo, Fozzie just confessed to everybody that
Galaxy Quest.
He's Galaxy Quest. That's my little Broncos stack there. Fozzie. We're like brothers from another mother. I feel like we're like this would be the fantasy football equivalent of being Eskimo brothers right now.
And he's done. We've commented. We liked a lot of his picks. Fozzie's doing well.
Yeah. Dang.
Interesting. Keon Coleman, Luther Burden go in round 11. Josh Downs, Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft's another one. I like him. I think that's a really good value around 11. I know, again, a lot of mouths to feed, but he was kind of a big play threat at tight end last year, and they already talked about how they want to make him more involved from the get-go. So I like Tucker Kraft in round 11.
I like that Jake Ferguson in round 11 also. I think I might have taken Ferguson over Tucker Kraft even, just because Ferguson's he's third on that target share.
Yeah.
Right? You got Lamb, you got Pickens.
People are probably scared off from him last year, just didn't have the season everybody thought he was going to have as the clear number 2 option, but it could actually open things up for him having, Pickens there to stretch the field a little bit, and CeeDee Lamb taking some coverages away from Ferguson as well. So it could end up being advantageous for him. Sometimes it's not always the worst thing in the world when you add more talent at receiver for the other people.
Also seeing some late second QBs here, right? Surf and turf goes Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, no pain, no gain, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott.
So Lucy Goosey and Monty Python both took their first QB here in the last couple rounds. Jared Goff for Monty Python and Justin Fields. So Lucy Goosey is rolling the dice here. He's going with Justin Fields as his number 1. Maybe he'll back it up with kind of that veteran who's not too exciting, like you suggested there, Howard.
It's not even a question of whether it's a veteran who's not exciting, but you just look at who the pocket passers are, who are out there, and there are at least 3 guys right now who I'm like, if Lucy Goosey grabs one of those 3, he's putting himself into a very, very nice spot with the quarterback situation for going as late as he did. Damn. And now wide receiver. Look at that receiving course still.
Yeah, it's really good.
Wow. Oh my God. If he goes, I never don't ever be mad at me for like talking about players, because you guys are all experienced enough to know who the players are.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have to worry about that. Like, maybe it's because I'd like point out the possibilities. But I mean, yeah, if I'm pointing out the possibilities here, Loosey Goosey now has Justin Fields with Garrett Wilson. If CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence is out there, right? Or is Jordan Love there to pair him with Jaden Reed? There are multiple ways that he can go here for his second QB and stick with that whole pocket passer yin yang philosophy.
Exactly. All right, before we get out of here, let's give our favorite team. I think you might go with Loosey Goosey. Let me.
No, I mean, because I don't love that running back room there.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I mean, and listen, I don't want to like inflate the ego or anything like that. But I mean, Galaxy Quest with that Broncos stack, Fozzie's team, I really do like it. I really do like it. But the other team that I would say is I think that Paradise really built himself a great team. He's got like legit 3 no-brainer wide receivers, huge upside for Olave. Lamar's a beast. And then he can fill in the blanks with what he's doing at the running back position. His focus is, top guys. Laporta, I think, is a great bargain in round 7.
Yeah, he was definitely not that cheap last year. Man, there's a lot of different builds and a lot of good builds, though. It's tough to pick. I actually might go with, I wish Surf and Turf had more receivers. He only has 3 receivers right now. If he had a deeper room, receiver room, I think I might go with him as my favorite team, but I'm worried about that receiver room, and I don't know if I love his options behind Kamara and Irving as well. I think he has some question marks there, but man, I don't know.
I'm with you. Give me some more receivers for IM Stroud too. Great running back room, but you need some. He's locking. Ooh, the Tyler Warren pick, a 3rd tight end, and then Pitts for a 3rd tight end there. Oh, he is a 3rd tight end. 3 tight ends, Jeff.
What's happening? Holy cow! Everybody does have a tight end now, but man, going 3, I don't know. I don't know about that strategy. It's not the Howard Bender best ball championship. It's 1.5 points per tight end. We didn't mention that.
We did not mention that it was tight end premium. Oops.
It is. Yeah.
Which would be hysterical if you saw just how I continuously wait on tight end in those drafts.
Well, all right, Howard. A lot of fun as always, and we've already confirmed you are in the draft for next week, the Fantasy Life Championship at Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go sign up right now. Fozzie says he's going to be in there. Paul's going to be in there as well. So should be a lot of fun. We will talk with Howard as he's drafting. He will give us his insights on why he's making the picks. It's been a lot of fun, though, Howard, as always.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks to everybody for watching out there. If you want to get in a draft here, go to RTSports.com. Get in the Fantasy Life Championship for a chance to win $500,000. Have a great night, everyone.